Hi, Parker.
Hello, Pianin.
Good afternoon. I have yet another favorite video. I have so many of them about Eckhart. Another favorite video, and I love this 2014 series of talks. They're done in Assisi when he talked about St. Francis of Assisi. So it's really, really special. So this video is about somebody talking, or maybe a Q&A where he talks about trust, that I cannot trust somebody anymore, they betrayed me, whatever. And Eckhart is answering. So I want to play a little bit of his clip on why that judgment, saying he betrayed me or I cannot trust people anymore, in itself is the obstacle, right? So let's watch the video.
But they're not really. In other words, you then look at the other person through your screen of mental accumulations, thoughts, and you no longer see what's there, but you see what your mind is projecting there, and you have drawn conclusions. It is true that that which gave rise to that particular thought, yes, of course that person was unconscious, and perhaps in the moment of unconsciousness that person said something to you that was untrue, that was maybe a lie perhaps, or that was a distortion of something, or that was insensitive towards you, or whatever it was. Yes, of course that happened. A person can only manifest according, whatever they say or do manifest reflects their particular state of consciousness at that moment. But to make a permanent thing out of that and transform that in your mind into a self that you manufacture mentally for that other person, that's the delusion. And then your mind has fixed the other person, has a fixed image of that person, and it is quite possible that for the rest of your life you're trapped in that. And I'm saying you are trapped, because when you trap another person in a fixed image, you yourself are trapped in that. Somebody said the same thing 2,000 years ago in slightly different words. Something about judging. So we need to know how the mind works, how the egoic mind works. If we don't, then it'll deceive us, and we don't know what's happening then. We identify it with the mechanical patterns of the mind. So, every human being that you know, every human being you meet, they are not permanent fixtures. They are expressions of varying degrees of consciousness, depending what situation arises. They are not predictable, or if you know them, if you know their patterns, yes, their patterns are predictable, but you cannot say this person is always to be trusted. You never know. The moment may come, maybe after 15 years of knowing the person, something happens, and suddenly, oh, maybe I can't trust him or her. So trust doesn't come from a person, it comes from that feeling of connectedness, the sense of connectedness within you. Then you can allow other humans to do what they do, to manifest whatever they manifest out of their particular state of consciousness at that moment, and not equate it with who they are and manufacture an identity for them, a self. And then it's because that's a thought or a group of associated thoughts in your mind. It's a dreadful limitation, but it happens all the time. So, when you know that, you can continue to meet other human beings in the state of openness, even people you've known for a while. Don't expect them to be conscious continuously or expressed in different language.
I absolutely love this video. I love the fact that he talks about, so he gives a pointer that instead of using a mental judgment of he betrayed me or judging anybody, then that's a mechanical portion of the mind energy. Drop out of that into presence, right? That is where the source, the connection to source is what matters. Since we always talk about kind of giving a live example of what we listen, as far as Eckhart's videos are concerned, I have a personal experience. I had this coworker, this person that used to sigh. They were sitting very close to me, and they used to have this huffing and puffing towards the afternoon. They would go, and I didn't know if it was directed towards me or they were getting frustrated with their work. I had no idea, but I could feel the negativity of that energy. Like that's one thing I've realized, that once you do enough of a meditation practice, you can detect like the energies that, does this person have pure presence, or does this person have like that pain body kind of negativity around them. And so what I would do is I would just put on my headset and I would listen to some Sanskrit mantras, or I would listen to my meditation music, or I would listen to an Eckhart talk if I'm doing something that is just documentation. And I would just be in pure presence, no opposition, no flaw, like no judgment that that person shouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? And things shifted automatically out of that surrender. We were allowed to work 3 days a week from home, so I didn't have to experience that, but two days a week. Then our schedules changed too. We had holidays, we had Christmas, we had Thanksgiving, and I got to the point that I was so looking at presence to presence that I was like, that's okay for this person to do this. I wish them well. And if they move somewhere else, then I wish them all the abundance, unlimited abundance. I always have this very signature Poonam phrase of, I wish them unlimited abundance in prosperity and health. And I could really feel that it's okay that this person, every human being needs that abundance. And of course, that person left. I'm leaving that same job. So it's like things shift by themselves. And I love that out of his example. What do you think, Parker?
Oh, I think it's a nice example. It's a beautiful thing when we just offer spaciousness to whatever energy comes our way. Right? Don't let the mind come in and create stories, whether it's a pleasant experience or it's a challenging experience. It's just an experience. Just to be aware of any mind activity that wants to start a story about it. So presence practice is great for that, and also a tremendous amount of compassion for them and for the situation. I think even completely, what seems like completely unconscious people, I think that as a whole, our species is becoming more conscious. We have it in our vernacular as a society, vibes. So you can sense a vibe, and that's outside of our five senses. We may construct a story using our five senses. Oh, they dressed this way and smelled this way and sounded like this, use this kind of language. Just leaving people alone. In my experience, I have felt that, feeling like somebody is trying, deconstructing me, can sense it. But what are they deconstructing, really? So, and having a lot of compassion also means to recognize the suffering in that tight space, because as soon as we construct a judgment, which is an opinion, our whole view begins to narrow it down. We can even use past experiences that we've had where we've been helpless, a helpless victim. And there's plenty of evidence to support the victimness. As soon as we know that we don't know, then the hold is lifted off of us and we're able to see so much more of the person or the situation. So the world is, as it becomes more sane in some quarters and in some people, it becomes more insane before the sanity begins to arise. I love at the beginning when you started this video how you described, a person being different levels of consciousness, right? It's floating up and floating down. And what I've noticed is in an unconscious person, it's all contingent upon the events in their lives. If things are going well, then they become more present and more loving. And then if they're challenged, then they fall out of that. It can be easy to fall out of that and fight to fix the situation, put lots of effort into it or not judge it. So like Eckhart says often enough, we can do these things to a person or to a situation and to just leave people alone, to allow to become an empty bowl, an empty vessel, a spaciousness of emptiness. We're not as a favor, because this is how it appears that the universe dissipates these kind of waves and patterns as they manifest in the world. Thank you for asking, and thank you for your contribution to them.
Thank you for adding to it. This is wonderful.
Yes.